nice comments. Like to thank obviously Ian for the opportunity to come up and speak today. And I'm going to be coming at it exactly from the same spot that Amy and Senya were with home improvement. Zintex Remodeling Group is a bathroom remodeling company, but hopefully as I go through all of the things that have helped us in the last couple of years continue to grow, you'll be able to see some very similarities or ideas that you might have to be able to take back to your business. So when Ian asked me about presenting and he says, you know, your company's been growing at a ridiculous rate for the last couple of years, you know, what do you want to talk about? What do you want to provide? What do you want to teach? I started doing some research just on some quotes, really, to where it's like, okay, what kind of quotes embody what we're trying to do at Zintex Remodeling Group? And one of the first ones that I came up with, if anybody knows the 90s movie that this came from, feel free to shout it out. But in any business, you're either growing or you're dying. There really isn't any kind of a third direction. So anybody want to take a guess on who that came from?
The Wolf of Wall Street.
Not the Wolf of Wall Street. You're close.
Just Wall Street.
Just Wall Street? Nope. It's a comedy.
Dumb and
So I couldn't
Dumber.
come up here and not quote, you know, Big Tom Callahan from Tommy Boy. So we look at it as we have to be able to make constant changes. Oh, okay, thanks. We have to be able to look at how can we continue to improve on everything that we're able to do. We will not just sit and say, hey, this is working properly. We don't need to think about that anymore. Because you are either getting ahead of the curve or unfortunately you're going to be behind the curve. One of the other quotes that I found was, and I think this one really speaks to something that we try to lean into at Zintex Remodeling Group, all progress takes place outside of the comfort zone. So we lean into this to where on our team and our leadership team, we look at it as, hey, this might be uncomfortable, but this is something that we need to look at doing. We cannot sit back and say, hey, we're comfortable now, we don't have to worry about it. That is not where the growth is going to take place. So the kiss of death, probably in any business, is this quote. When I was at BCI Acrylic for 5.5 years, I had a lot of opportunity to consult and work with a lot of our dealer network, and we would hear this constantly. We would make a suggestion about something, you know, that they would provide us feedback on conversion metrics or things that they want to improve. And then we would talk about, okay, what is it that we feel like we could change? What is it that we feel like we could test and make these changes? And unfortunately, you know, this quote is the people that aren't growing. They're not growing, they're not profitable. This is the way that we've always done it, or we've always done it that way. It's like, don't be afraid to change. Part of marketing is changing a variable and seeing if you get different results. You have to be able to make those changes. So I challenge you as we go through this presentation to write down or think about things in your business to where you say, you know what, I've always wanted to talk to my superior about making this potential change. I always wanted to throw this idea out there that I have. One of the things it's difficult to do sometimes in my job as the person that's leading the marketing department, but it's always something that I want to be able to get everybody's buy-in that's on my team. On the leadership level, I want to be able to run through, this is something that we're looking at changing, this is something that we're looking at testing, these are some ideas that we have. Let's all talk about them. Let's make sure that everybody in the marketing department, as well as sales, is on the same page and does not feel like there's going to be issues with what we're going to try to roll out and test or roll out and change. This is another one in the last couple of years. I talked to a number of my peers across the country and a number of owners as well, and they're like, well, we have to be at 10 to 12% cost of marketing. And it's usually coming from either those who are amazing, because if you're doing 10 to 12% and you're growing like crazy, that's awesome, you know, props to you. Or you're fudging your numbers, or you don't know your numbers, or you're not growing and you're not profitable. I've talked to a number of counterparts where they're like, man, I'm stuck to this number. I gotta try to make sure that I'm at 10 to 12% lead cost. And my question to them is, well, are you growing? And they're like, no, we've gone backwards. Well, maybe we need to change what the expectations need to be and figure out ways to look at other departments within the company and figure out, okay, how can we save money and be smart with everything in those to continue to spend money on leads. Cost per lead has gone up over the last couple of years, as well as the number of finance declines that we're having. So when you look at certain metrics, at least in the home improvement funnel, that are causing your overall cost of marketing to be higher, those are typically the two. You can say that there's been conversion changes as far as, you know, certain sources and things like that. Conversions might be down a little bit, but those are the two in my world where it's costing you more to get more leads or phone calls. And then once you do get into the house, unfortunately, the people that cannot qualify for financing aren't turning into net sales, which then drives your overall cost of marketing up.
Mm-hmm.
I know this quote, everybody says it came from Einstein, but AI actually told me that they weren't sure whether or not it came from Albert Einstein, so I put it in there as possibly, but you know, it still goes back to something that's very, very simple. It's like, if you are gonna continue to do the same thing over and over and over again and go, well, why isn't this changing? Then it's the definition of insanity. And that's where it's like, you have to be able to take that risk and say, let's change something, let's see if it impacts the numbers. You have to be able to set up the test properly to make sure that you're not just going off of a week's worth of data. You gotta let it play out for a while and see, like, okay, is this something we're gonna test for a month? Are we gonna do this for a quarter? Do we do this for the entire year in some cases, and see if that makes a difference on your conversion metrics and increasing your ROI? One thing that I did notice on this one, it was kind of funny when I was typing in Einstein, you know, that I before E, you know, except after C, he's got it wrong twice in his last name. So those of you that are familiar with the movie Moneyball, I mean, this is pretty much our mentality at Zintex. And you know, after sitting in and listening to Amy and Senya speak, I'm sitting there and I'm going, man, I'm behind. Like, there are so many other marketing people that are way ahead of me when it comes to the technology and AI that I gotta play catch up. And this is what I'm trying to do. It's like, hey, I either got to adapt or die. The times are changing.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be ahead of the curve. I want to be testing new things. These are one of the main reasons why I attend conferences like this, where it's like, tell me what I don't know. Let me have a call with you. Let me find out what I don't know about this and whether or not it makes sense to go ahead and work together. I would rather be ahead of the curve and say, hey, we're already doing that. We're already changing this. We're already updating this. We are trying to be at the forefront of everything so that way we're not in a position to where we say, uh-oh, what do we do now? I think one of my biggest fears, and it probably leads to me being a control freak on certain things, is like, I don't ever want to be in a position where I'm caught with my pants around my ankles.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to ever look to my team and go, man, I don't have the answer to that. I don't know, we're gonna have to figure it out. I want to be able to say, hey, we're executing A, and I have B and C lined up behind it if A doesn't work. And that way we're always constantly moving forward and moving ahead. So this is a snapshot of the last 5 years. We strictly do bathroom remodeling. We've been doing bathroom remodeling since 2016 was when the product line came into Zintex Remodeling Group. We actually, at that point, were doing windows, we were doing some roofing, and basically we just decided that we were gonna stick with the bathrooms. But you know, over the course of the last 5 years, we've seen a lot of growth. A very good chunk of that growth has come from the amount of territories that we've been able to expand to. And I'm gonna talk a little bit about that. You know, for those of you that are looking into opportunities of like, okay, we feel like we're doing really well in this market, are there other opportunities to be able to expand? And a lot of the things that I learned from going from a number of markets to where this is the map of all the different markets that we covered, but back in 2016, these were only the 4 that we were in. So we've covered a lot of ground and a lot of area, basically, other than just the individual markets, as we've continued to expand. And it's been a learning curve. I talked with my wife where I'm like, this has been probably the hardest year, both professionally and personally, as far as just continuing to be able to grow, add things, but also feel like you're not losing ground as you continue to grow. It's easy to open up a number of new markets, but then you unfortunately forget about the markets that you're doing well in that got you to the point where you can expand. So I'll have a slide every now and then where it's an opportunity to take a picture here of the slide just as a heads up. But basically one of the things that I tried to put together was I couldn't seem to get to 10, so it's 9. But these are the things that I'm going to talk about today, and what I feel like has been the best secret sauce, the best mix of things that we want to be able to focus on that have gotten us to the point where this year we're pacing to do over $100 million in bathroom remodeling. So it's not necessarily in any particular order. However, we all know that everybody that works for us and the people that you rely on, they come first. You can have all the process and procedures in place, you can have all of your partners, I could do all the planning and the pivoting, performance and production, that doesn't happen without your people. So those are things that we really try to focus on at Zintex Remodeling Group is how can we find the best people, where can we get the best performance out of them, and also hopefully they see that we're teaching them along the way, that they are learning these skills to be able to come through and execute. There's opportunities to be able to grow within the company. And a lot of this happens from our owner, Nick Zindel. And I was really, really excited about the fact that, we became, number 2,295 out of the fastest 5,000 growing companies in 2025. But our owner, Nick, I've worked for a number of owners in my home improvement career that stretches back to 2011. And this man's changed my life both professionally as well as personally, where I'll run through a brick wall for him, and it's the only question is how many times do you want me to do it? When you look at an owner that is employee first and expecting certain things, but also the amount of rewards that we get of being part of the Zintex Remodeling Group team. Like I was down in Dallas Thursday through yesterday, and I'm a big Green Bay Packers fan, even though I live outside of Chicago. There you go. But
What is happening?
I asked, what's your team, Amy?
I guess it's the Bears.
Okay, well, apologies, condolences. So when I saw the schedule came out and that Green Bay was going to be playing in Dallas this past Sunday night, I texted Nick and I'm like, hey, is there any way, I'd never been to AT&T Stadium before. I was like, is there any way that I could, maybe get we get tickets and take the team and everything? And he writes back, he's like, they're booked, you're going. So it's leadership that comes from the top, and it just flows through the rest of the organization. And when it comes to our VP of sales, our VP of operations, our VP of production and installation, like it's a great group of people to work for, because you all have each other's back. But it stems from Nick at the tip of the sword, saying, hey, this is how we're going to go through and do things. But he's also an owner where I'm not being micromanaged at all. It's like, this is what I'm paying you for. This is what I hired you for. This is what we're bringing in your skills to be able to do. We're going to talk about things, and then we're going to go through and we're going to execute. And then after we've executed, we're going to come back to the table, and we're going to figure out, okay, what worked, what didn't work, what do we want to change, and what do we want to pivot off of. But it was really nice to be able to see that Nick get the recognition that I think he deserves. I think he likes flying under the radar a lot. He gets probably invited to speak at a number of different events and everything, and he's just like, hey, that's not for me, I really appreciate it. Most of the time he ends up like volunteering me to come up here and speak in certain cases. But it's really nice when you're working for somebody where you're like, man, I want you to have this success. Like the way that you treat people, you deserve to have a company that's growing like this and having a lot of the success that we are. So when we look at people, these are some of the things that we're trying to really focus on when it comes to hiring, when it comes to providing the best overall experience for our potential customers. The first thing is, and we've talked about, a lot with the inside sales centers or call centers, but we've made a point that we realize that it's going to cost us more to have Americans that are working in our inside sales center. Like, it's easy for me to just ship this overseas very, very quickly and just say, hey, I'm just hiring somebody else and they're gonna handle it. Do we really believe that that is the best experience for our potential customers? And at this point, we both said, no, we don't feel like that's the best case. I would rather provide 75 jobs in our inside sales center in Dallas, and our potential customers who are Americans are speaking with other Americans. That's not a knock on anybody outside the country, but we want to make sure that they are the ones that are coming in contact with the potential customer. It needs to be handled properly. When it comes to attracting the best talent, it's easy to just put out a job post and potentially pay high, but the networking that we try to do within the entire industry. This year I had the opportunity to bring on a director of marketing. I pretty much had been working on the high level stuff myself, and I finally got to the point where I said, hey, I need some help, Nick. Like, I can't keep up this pace with this many markets. And he's like, throw something out on LinkedIn and see who comes back, see what the funnel looks like, and let's try to hire a director of marketing. And fortunately, I was introduced to my new director of marketing that I hired, Katie Samaras, and she's been awesome. She used to work at Jacuzzi Corporate, left there a couple years ago, took another job, and through my connection with Jacuzzi, as well as other people I know, she was available. And that has been a huge weight that's been taken off of my shoulders, because we speak the same language. She's done home improvement marketing before, and she's been somebody that we brought in, I think, in May or June, and it's just basically been hit the ground running. And she's asking me, like, hey, what else can I do? That's the type of people that we're looking to bring on board. So I try to use networking as much as I possibly can, whether it's for lead gen sources, whether it's for hiring people, whether it's for tech programs. I try to be as active on LinkedIn, and it's been very, very beneficial as far as the different positions, as well as the different process and procedures and things like that we've been trying to implement. When it comes to compensation, I always like this example, and I'm hoping that I'm going to be able to give another example. But last year, one of our 40-hour-a-week, starting out at $20 an hour call center reps, because of how we bonus them off of the demos that they generate, we had a inside sales center rep make $85,000 last year. So that's 40 hours a week, not taking your work home with you, not working on weekends, but because of the way that we had our pay structure set up, where every time an appointment demos, meaning the rep is able to give a price in the house, they get paid a bonus off of it. We've been able to provide them with a great opportunity to generate that kind of money. The example that I'm hoping will either happen this year or next year is I'd like to see one of our callers crack 6 figures. Because if I can put that on a job posting where it's legit, and somebody's like, wait a minute, I can work remote, I can work in my PJs all day long, and I can make 100 grand, and I'm like, yes, you can. We have plenty of leads to dial out on. If you hammer the dialer, if you use the script, if you use every rebuttal, if you take advantage of every time you're talking to somebody on the phone, that is possible, and there is no cap. This goes without saying. I don't even know why I have to necessarily put it up there or why I did, but examples like, I think praise and promotion, as well as the amount of fun and celebrations that we like to have. A couple examples, we hit a quarterly goal where we told the inside sales center, like, hey, if we hit this quarterly sales goal, we're gonna rent a party bus, we're gonna take you out to a steak dinner, and then you get to pick whether or not you wanna go to a sporting event or music concert, play, whatever. And it just so happened at that time that down in Dallas, the play Hamilton was coming to town. And they're like, we'd love to go see Hamilton. So Nick, myself, were like, okay, you earned it, you hit the quarterly goal, we're gonna take everybody on the party bus, go have a steak dinner, and we're gonna take you to see the play Hamilton. And it was awesome. And I got a chance to go along with them, and it was so much fun. Like, I'd seen Hamilton before, but to get a chance to kind of watch them see Hamilton, like, that was very rewarding to me. It's like, hey, you earned this. We're gonna do something special. Another one was they wanted to go to medieval times. I got a chance to take my Inside Sales Center leadership to the Cowboys-Packers game this past Sunday. So it's a lot of fun when you get a chance to do things outside of the office where you can say, look, if we do this, then you're going to be able to get this in return. And I think it's something that if you set it up throughout the year to be able to say, these are our goals, and this is what we're trying to hit, and that prep work that you do, the reward is so worth it, because they're all excited about, hey, not only did we hit this and we got paid more, but then there's also that extra cherry on top where it's like, okay, we've got this scheduled, we're gonna go here, and everybody's gonna get a chance to have a good time and a lot of fun. I'm a big process and procedure person, to where if those things get followed, it makes it so much easier for everybody in the company. And that's not just within the marketing department, that's not just within the inside sales or events and shows or canvassing or retail. It's across the board. So process and procedures, when you're taking notes about this presentation, you know, look at opportunities to where you say, hey, this is a process or procedure that either doesn't make sense, it's not working in our company, or at least we need to have a discussion about it to try to find out, well, can this be done a different way, or can this be better? Can we make it faster? Can we, let's not work harder, let's work smarter. So when it comes to process and procedures, one of the big things that I always try to communicate to our team internally is anytime we're gonna make a change, I gotta explain what we're trying to do and why we're trying to do it. I have to get their buy-in. There's hardly ever a moment where I've ever been successful at implementing something where I say, I'm the VP of marketing, this is the way we're doing it, and this is what I want to have happen. Most of the time, they're like, well, now it sounds like it's just an order. I try to get our team together and basically say, look, these are the things that we want to accomplish. Here's the why. Now provide me the feedback that the rest of us need to be able to try to make the best decision possible. And then once we feel like this is the best way to do it, we are going through to everybody and saying, like, are you good with this? Are you good with this? Are you good with this? Do you feel like you can execute this? And that's their opportunity to say, hey, no, I still have some questions, or no, I'm concerned about this part of it. But we really try to make sure that we get the buy-in all the way from the top leadership of that department all the way down to an agent on the phone. Like, we have some veteran agents that will sit in our meetings, and we say, hey, you're the one that's actually doing this all day long. If I'm not going and getting your opinion on this, then shame on me. Because you might have specific examples that have come up that the team leads are not aware of, that the assistant inside sales center managers are not aware of. So let's make sure we go all the way from top to bottom in a department when it comes to implementing process and procedures or any kind of changes. The other thing that we, back it up, sorry. So one of the goals that we have at Zintex Remodeling Group, and this is our why, is we want to become the most trusted home improvement company. We don't want to be the best, we don't want to be the biggest, we want to be the most trusted. Now, being in an industry that's probably looked at as least trusted other than maybe Congress, maybe attorneys, you know, we've got a reputation in home improvement of everybody's got some type of horror story where this person came into my house, they were supposed to do this work, they took my check, they took the insurance money, and they just disappeared. So we do have an uphill battle to try to become the most trusted. Unfortunately, there's a lot of bad apples out there that make it very, very difficult, but this is basically our mission, is how can we become the most trusted home improvement company that's out there. One of the things that we did as a start, and I remember the day that I had to fill out the application process for the 2022 BBB Torch Award for Ethics. I went through it was like 12 pages, and I was like, man, do I really wanna take the time to fill all this information out, to even be just available or have the ability to earn this award? And I'm so glad that I did, because it is something that not very many of our competitors have. It's definitely something that we use on all of our marketing. It's also something that is brought up in the house when the sales rep is sitting inside the house. They don't allow you at the BBB to basically apply for that same award every year. So in 2024, I got the email about, well, we do have an International Torch Award for Ethics, and would you like to apply for that? And we went through the same process, and we basically became a finalist. But in 2022, I was surprised because we were sitting on the live call where they went through and they were announcing the winners, and we were up against like a hospital. And I'm like, this, what are the chances? And I'm sitting there, and then they pulled up our logo, and they're like, this is our winner. And I looked over at our VP of sales, and I was laughing because I was like, man, I really didn't think that I believe in our team, I believe in what we're doing, but I didn't think that we were gonna have a chance of winning this type of an award. So it's another example of things that we're leaning into. All of our canvassing reps, events and shows reps, as well as retail teams, they have the BBB Torch Award for Ethics winner logo on their shoulder, on their shirts, as well as obviously the Zintex logo on the front. So this is just one of the things that we do. We're in 32 different markets in 11 different states, so we go through and apply for the best workplaces awards in a number of the different markets and territories that we're in. We've won a number of those, but when you still look at, okay, the main thing that we want to do is we want to be the most trusted. Well, there's no other place to be able to go through and try to do that than going through the BBB. We are also very, very focused on generating as many reviews, Google reviews in particular, as we possibly can, because when customers are doing those searches, Google reviews are going to generate more leads. You can generate reviews on a number of different third-party sites, but at the end of the day, a lot of the customers are going to be searching on Google. So the second thing when it comes to process and procedures is we look at the communication to the customer or to the potential customer. And this is one of the things that I think in home improvement, most of the companies are either created by somebody who is in sales or somebody who is doing installation. It's very, very rare that a marketing person like myself says, okay, I've been doing this and now I want to go out and create my own home improvement company. So the thing that you have to remember as an owner is that your sales rep is not the first person a potential customer comes in contact with. So why is this important? Well, when your events and shows person, your retail person, your canvasser, or your inside sales center person is the first person to come in contact with that customer, they should be paid well. A lot of times the owners, they're always paying their sales reps really well, and they're paying their installers really well. And they forget about paying the people that come in contact with the potential customer first. They have the biggest opportunity to make the biggest impact right off the get-go with that customer. If we sound professional, if we are using a script but it doesn't sound like we're reading the script to them on the phone or when we're speaking to them in person, to be able to go through and qualify that customer as much as we possibly can, where it comes to how are we asking these questions to try to get the information that we need, where maybe the customer doesn't even know, well, why are you asking that question? We know why we're asking the question, but they might not know why. And that's the best case scenario. So when it comes to the customer, this is what we want to try to implement and make sure that we execute in every department, from the top of the funnel where the lead has come in, all the way through post-installation, where then we are trying to get repeat and referral business. And it's one of the quotes that I like from my favorite comedian, but we kind of have a joke in the office to where if something's going wrong in a department, we always ask them, like, hey, when are you going to start picking up your end of the couch? Something is going awry over here, the ball is being dropped, let's get back on task and make sure that we're providing that excellent customer experience. The next couple things are all pretty much related to the handoff from the inside sales center department or marketing to inside sales, and then inside sales to the sales rep in the home, and then the sales rep basically handing it off to production and installation to be able to provide exactly what we said we were going to do. So the way that we train and try to educate all of our team members, both on the marketing side as well as on the inside sales center side, is we never want you to commit or say something to the customer that could potentially put the sales rep in the house in a bad position. So, if a customer is asking you a question over the phone or in person, unless you know that answer, please do not say it. Don't make something up. Don't, oh, I heard this the other day. If it's not in the script, if it's not something that we've trained you on, please do not say something, because that could be the one thing that that customer remembers, where the sales rep gets in the home and they say, hey, I was talking to Eric at this event and he said X. And then the sales rep basically loses all credibility. They have to say, well, unfortunately, Eric's on our events and shows team. He's not as trained up as well as I am here in the house. They wouldn't say that, obviously, but you're basically putting the rep in a bad position in the house. They have to backtrack off of it, and now we've lost all credibility. So we really try to make sure that when we're handing that customer off on the marketing side or the inside sales center side to the sales center, or excuse me, to sales, when they go into the house, we are making sure that they are not hearing anything that could put that sales rep in a bad position. We try to train on the flip side, where all of our marketing team members understand their position in the company. So yes, everything starts with the lead, but I'm sure as all kind of giggling, looking around, that this is something where marketing and sales often are pointing the finger at each other. And at Zintex, we do the opposite. Because these are some of the things that we'll get where marketing is saying, hey, you know, we set it up where all homeowners were there, they had 60 to 90 minutes in the household, how come you didn't sell it? And sales is saying, well, that lead sucked. So you gotta have some give and take. You gotta understand your positions and what we're trying to achieve. And I always joke, I'm fortunate enough that our VP of sales and I have a great relationship. We probably talk on the phone individually maybe once a week, maybe. We're in meetings, but he knows what I'm trying to do and I know what he's trying to do. And I've been blessed to have such a great sales team and sales leadership team that the way that we train on the marketing side is to understand a couple different things. One is we never put our inside sales center reps in a position where a sales rep can talk to them or communicate with them about a lead. So when it comes to any complaints about leads, those complaints go up the chain of command inside the sales department. It does not come across to marketing until it gets to the regional sales managers level or the VP of sales level, because a lot of times they're able to eliminate those complaints or address them to where marketing or call center doesn't even need to necessarily hear about them. It's a sales rep complaint. They didn't sell a job, they wanna talk to somebody or complain to somebody about it, and then it gets handled. Back in my early 20s, when I had no responsibility whatsoever, I got a chance to be a professional golf caddy for about 4 years. And one of the things that always was difficult for me, just to keep my mouth shut, because I'm a little bit of a sarcastic wise ass sometimes, was when my player hit a bad shot, and I knew that wasn't struck as well as you possibly could hit the ball, and they would complain about, oh, that's the wrong club, or you didn't, the wind was turning in a different direction, or whatever the reason was, all they're just doing is deflecting. And they're basically just deferring to it. And sometimes you just have to be there and just say, hey, I got it. I'm gonna do better on the next one. Even though I know it's like they hit that approved low. That's why we're buried in the front bunker, not the yardage was wrong.
Right.
But I think being able to separate to where it's like, yes, there's going to be complaints. How are those handled? We could easily complain on the call center side or on the marketing side, well, like, hey, you know, we set it up where there were 2 homeowners there, we gave you 60 to 90 minutes in the house, how come you didn't sell that one? Now, we don't do that, but it's easy to start pointing fingers at each other, and we say, hey, look, we're all on the same team here. Sales and marketing's trying to work together. So we wanna make sure that on our end, anytime that we're doing something and providing that best experience to the customer, that we're all rowing in the same direction when it comes to marketing and sales. So the question might be, well, how do you do that? This is the approach that we've taken. Anytime that I'm training anybody on my marketing team, or anytime that any of the leadership members on our marketing team are training their people, they have to understand that the sales rep, they have to be the leading scorer on the basketball team. Because if they don't score, if they don't sell, then the rest of us don't have jobs. It's that simple. We come at it as, how can marketing be the leading assist getter on the basketball team? Let's know our role. Yes, everything starts with the lead. However, the sales reps have the toughest job. One of the things that we like trying to do is we will send our inside sales center reps out to do a ride-along with the sales rep. So where they are going in that customer's home and they are experiencing how difficult it is to do a one-sit close, where you are asking somebody to spend an average of $18,000 with you in an hour and a half. The fun part is usually when they come back, they have a totally different perspective on what happens out there in sales, and they're usually happy that they're not the one having to do it. On the flip side though, because it's a give and take, part of our sales training process is the sales reps get to come into the inside sales center and they sit there and they listen to everybody talking on the phones for 30 to 45 minutes during their training. And they are hearing the scripting. They are hearing the same things being said. They're hearing the same questions being asked. They're hearing them talk about, we ask that you set aside 60 to 90 minutes for this particular reason. We ask that all homeowners attend the appointment for this particular reason. We try to schedule that appointment as close to today as possible so that we can get the rep in the house. They sit there and now they feel more comfortable to where when we do have a not home, when we do have only one homeowner being there, they feel comfortable going, I remember hearing in the inside sales center, they were saying that over and over and over again. There's times where we drop the ball. There's times where customers will lie to us. It's gonna happen. But overall, if we're trained to understand our role and how marketing and call center and and events and shows and retail and canvassing, if we can get as much customer information as possible, and in the example here, I mean, I can't think of a better assist leader in the NBA as well as a better scorer, but how can we, on the marketing side, penetrate the lane, find out all the information, force the defenders to close on us to be able to then make a bounce pass so that way they can go into the house and dunk it. The more information that we're able to collect from the customer about what they're looking to try to do, what they want to have done, what's really important to them, all those notes, I want to be able to try to push on to the sales rep to where before they even get into the house, they know exactly what they're walking into. They can do some prep work versus just, hey, there's the address, show up at the door. You're supposed to close it. When we work on it this way, at the end of the day, everybody wins. Marketing and sales, we all know our place. The cool side is, I'll get to questions at the end. The cool side is that when we have that success, the inside sales center reps, as well as our events team, canvassers, retail, we forward them the emails. They're seeing their sales as close to real time as possible. Like they know, hey, I just influenced and got this sale. So we also remind them that, hey, even though the sales rep is the leading scorer on the basketball team and they went into the house and generated the sale, you had a big part in that sale being generated. So don't think that you didn't influence it. When the sales reps are only closing 3 out of 10 net, which is a great close rate, they're being told no 7 times. There's a number of reasons why I'm not in sales. I can't be told no 7 times and still go out there every day and be like, man, I just can't wait to sell another one. I don't want to spend all day in my car driving all over the place. I don't want to walk into some of the homes that, believe me, I've seen some pictures that some of these sales reps have to walk into. So that's why I'm in marketing. This is something that you'll hear it today from me as a marketing person, but I truly believe this. You know, great sales rep performance always makes marketing look good. It's never the other way around. So I know my place and what we need to do on our end, because we can make it better for sales, but I also know that because of our VP of sales and because of our owner, Nick, we've got a hell of a sales team. Like, there's very little times where I am questioning what is going on in sales, which is a lot of fun, because now you know it's scalable. If we keep doing what we're doing on the marketing side and sales keeps doing and hiring more people and training them that well, I'm not worried about all of a sudden having a really low close rate and that causing my cost of marketing in a specific market to be really high. Next thing we want to talk about is our partners. It's one of the things, you know, that we're here at Leadsconconnect. We're here to meet with a number of different people, talk to different vendors. I remember, I think I changed it at the beginning of this year, but I was always calling our partners our vendors, you know, like vendors or lead gen aggregators, and I stopped doing that. I stopped calling them that because I think they truly are our partners. You know, we would not exist without all of their help. And I want to make sure that in every chance that I get to remind them how important they are to what we do and to say thank you and how much we appreciate them. We've got great manufacturer partners, which that's obviously given us the opportunity to open up a number of new markets as we've grown the last 5 years. It wouldn't have been possible without some of our manufacturers for us to grow at that particular pace. Lead generation, that's the name of the game. A number of our manufacturing partners, they have great lead generation programs. The way that we operate at Zintex is we look at it as, that's great that they have leads that they're able to provide to us or sell to us. I don't ever want to be relying on the manufacturer. I want to be able to have my own internal lead gen partners and programs to where what the manufacturers can provide us is kind of the cherry on top of everything. It's not the base. I gotta have the base because I can control that. In a number of situations or scenarios, you don't know what's coming from the manufacturer month over month, or day over day, or week over week. You know, you don't know. It could be a huge week, it could be a slow week. You know, I look at that as there's gonna be averages. I'm gonna be able to kind of forecast of like, okay, this is what I'm gonna spend potentially with that manufacturer on their lead gen program and take a good guess at it. But I don't have control over that. So I have to focus on making sure that we have enough leads coming in from all of our additional sources. We've got a number of tech stack partners. That's where the efficiency comes into play. That's where making everything a little bit faster, a little bit easier, working smarter, not harder comes in. You know, I listened to obviously Amy and Senya talk about, you know, how can we put together programs to provide a great customer experience, but we also have to adapt to the customer. It would not surprise me in the next 5 to 10 years if there are companies out there in home improvement that are basically allowing the customer to buy whatever it is that they sell right through their website. And then instead of sales reps going out, it's almost like it's a measure tech that is just going out there to confirm measurements, confirm colors, confirm grab bars, confirm shower doors, or try to upsell. I mean, think about what we've already seen with Amazon. It's like the Amazon truck is showing up at our house every other day. It's easy. It's easy to just say, hey, I need this, click, boom, it's here tomorrow. So that's what we're walking into. Like that is the next generations coming up. The older generations are adapting to that and doing it. But we can't fight the uphill battle. We've got to be ahead of it and saying, hey, let's test this out. Amy was talking about a great example of just booking appointments on their website and them confirming them or them just going out and running them. I mean, make it as easy as possible for the customer. Try to put as little resistance in between your initial call or when you're speaking in person with the customer as that sales rep walking in the door. And our tech stack helps us do that. We have a number of different agencies that we work with regarding booking and producing TV spots, radio spots, print, you name it. They're a huge part of what we do. They come up with different ideas. Sometimes it's actually kind of fun to have a conversation with them where I'm so in our business to where you almost think well, I know all that, but then when they start asking questions from a new set of eyes and ears, and then I'm like, oh wait, I didn't even think about that. That's somebody that doesn't know anything about bathroom remodeling, but that's a good question. Maybe we should do something a little bit different. You have to talk about, what is my customer looking for? What are they searching for? What do they want to see? What are things that we could go through and implement that separate us from our competitors? What are some promotions that we could run that potentially could work, that might separate us from our competitors? And then finally, and the reason that this is last is because fortunately I have nothing to do with this, which is exactly the way I want it. But both our VP of sales as well as our owner, Nick, we have a number of different lenders and financing companies that we work with. So even though we have a higher than I would prefer finance decline rate, if you only have one lender that your reps can use, you're missing opportunities in the house. You have to have 2, 3, 4 different lenders. Does it have a waterfall where you can only submit the application for that customer once and then it's going to check all the different lenders to be able to try to get that customer approved for financing? So I'm very grateful to all of our partners. Some of you are obviously sitting here in the room, but we couldn't do what we do without them. One of the things that I try to do, and it's gotten a little bit harder to do it just because of the scale of everything, but usually on a weekly basis, I'm sending out a month-to-date update email, and I blind carbon copy all of our partners on it. It's like, I want them to know what's going on. Hey, last week it was kind of slow. These are markets that I need some additional leads in if you can send them. Or hey, we had a record sales month, or a record sales day, or record sales week. Like, I want them to be able to celebrate in our success because they've been a big part of it. Sometimes when I onboard a new lead source that I'm trying to test, if I see sales come through from that lead source, I will forward it to that particular lead gen partner. Hey, a new sale just came through. I know they're getting the dispo reports, but when I email them and it's coming from me, usually they're reading the email. And it's fun where they'll write back and like, oh, hey, great to see we got a sale on the board. All right, we got more coming. Like, it just gets them excited. I also try to put myself in their situation where a lot of times, unfortunately, they're the ones that are only hearing about complaints. They're the ones only hearing from home improvement companies saying, hey, your leads suck. What are you doing? This is garbage. I'm not paying for this. Well, I kind of want to be their knight in shining armor where it's like, hey, we just got a sale from this. This is awesome. Well, who would they rather talk to more often? Who would they rather work on their campaign, than dealing with people that are just complaining all the time? So it's just one way I try to set myself apart where it's like, hey, I took the time, I'm going to email you and say, hey, great job. Hopefully it goes net, but here's a reported sale that just came through 5 minutes ago. Next thing we're going to talk about is our performance and production when it comes to our KPIs and some of the metrics that we're constantly watching within our teams. These are specific things that I try to always have. I basically have a Google sheet where I can put in a monthly sales goal, and I've got our conversion metrics and formulas in there rolled up to where I know this is how many leads I need to generate in order for us to hit that sales goal based on our historic conversion metrics. So we're always looking at leads goal. However, inside of leads goal, it's easy to go out and just buy a bunch of leads. Meaning it's easy to just make that leads number look big. I wanna find the leads that are gonna convert at a higher rate. I can go out and buy leads that all of a sudden you have a single digit set rate, where you're only setting 9%, 8% of those leads into appointments. That's not what I'm looking to do. I'm not looking to clog my telephony system with a bunch of garbage leads. I'm willing to pay more for a better lead or a branded lead or an exclusive lead that we have a better chance of converting into a net sale. We're always looking at our number of demos goal. So we know that on the marketing side, the one metric that we can control, that we can influence sales, is demos. If we can produce demos, sales is gonna do what they do, and we're gonna hit our monthly sales goal every time. Which is a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to be able to say like, hey, if we do our job on the demos, you're gonna do your job on the sales, unless something goes drastically wrong with the finance decline rate or the rescission rate. This is why we pay everybody on the marketing team that gets paid bonuses. This is why we pay per demo. It's because that is a metric that is a profitable metric. I've seen some call centers or marketing departments, they'll pay on number of sets. Here's my only beef with that. Just because it's a set appointment doesn't mean it's gonna confirm. Just because it confirms doesn't mean a rep is gonna walk into that door. So if you're paying on sets, you are paying on a non-revenue generating metric. On the flip side, I've seen some companies where they only pay their marketing people based on sales, generating net revenue. Well, you wanna talk about marketing and call center and sales pointing their finger at each other. You're opening that wide open, you're opening that up in the inside sales center of, well, the reason I didn't get paid my bonus was because they didn't go out there and sell it. So there's more finger pointing that way. So we look at it as, if we can generate the demos, that's what we're gonna bonus everybody on the marketing team off of, and we know that sales is going to generate the net revenue. This is something that we switched CRMs this past July, which if you ever have a chance to do that, pass on that. That was a boatload of fun. We're still having a boatload of fun. But one of the things that I want to be able to look at is, from having 32 different markets, I want to be able to track and look at our capacity percentage. So what that means is if I have one sales rep that can run a 10 a.m., a 2 p.m., and a 6 p.m., is marketing and call center doing what they need to do to fill each of those spots with a confirmed appointment? If we do, and we have 3 appointments for that rep to run, it's 100% capacity. If we only have 2 out of 3, it's 67%. If we only have 1 out of 3, it's 33%. So then you're looking at that number based on your total number of sales reps available to run appointments that day in that market. This is a big opportunity for us in the future, to where even though I feel like we have a lot of confidence, we're doing a lot of good things, but this is my one metric for 2026 to where I want to be able to fix this. Because I think we've got a lot of opportunity to improve and get our sales reps in the house and get them running more appointments. There's a fine line between overqualifying appointments and qualifying them enough. And this is where sales and marketing kind of go back and forth on it, of like, hey, if we make this change, what is going to happen on the sales side? I'm also somebody that I don't want our sales reps going out and running appointments where the home value is less than a certain dollar amount. I don't want them going and running appointments that are in the wrong part of town. I don't want them going out and running appointments where when they pull up the Google Maps on it, it looks like it might be a meth house. Like, there are certain things that we will not go out and run. However, they can't prejudge the leads. I mean, covering markets like Texas and Oklahoma, there's been times where we show up to an appointment and they look at the house outside and they're just like, man, what are the chances that they're gonna qualify for financing? And then they do a great presentation and the customer says, hang on one second. They go out to their backyard and they dig up $15,000 worth of cash.
Yep, that happens.
And they lay that at the sales reps' feet, and now the sales rep's like, man, I gotta get back to the office as soon as possible with this cash. But it happens. If we would have prejudged that lead, and said, nah, they're not gonna qualify for financing, we're not gonna go, we would have missed out on that sale. So that's where the give and take has to happen between sales and marketing. I do a presentation every year when we have our closers camp to all of our sales reps, and I talk about what we're trying to achieve for that year and some of the things that are gonna be changing inside of marketing. And this year, I definitely have to include what we're trying to achieve with the capacity percentage, to where it's like, look, yes, there might be some more no demos, yes, there might be some more not homes, but if we're giving you the volume of confirmed appointments to run at the end of the year, it is going to do more than offset. You are going to make more money because you're trained up to sell very, very well. If we can get you in the home and you walk in there with an open mind, more often than not, you're gonna walk out with a sale 3 times out of 10. We're always looking at our top line net revenue, so basically your sales revenue for the month. We try to forecast, we look at goals, we look at the number of selling days that there are in a month, we look at how many holidays there are. Like, I basically go through and I'm like, okay, I'm working 2 to 3 months out in advance. And I feel like that's something that on the marketing side, you have to be able to do. You have to be able to forecast, you have to be able to look at budgets in advance, you have to be able to load certain things in. That you're like, these are my tried and true sources that I'm gonna use. Can I continue to spend more money on them? And based on that month's history, is that a peak month? Is that an average month? Or is that a month like December where it's the toughest month out of the year in home improvement because we're fighting the holidays? Not every month is equal. So Danny, when I was working with you in the beginning, I'm like, hey, we can't be spending the same amount of marketing dollars in every month. There are gonna be months where you have to have the sales reps, you have to have the call center agents, because we're gonna step on the gas regarding the spend. We gotta be able to convert. That's the opportunity to strike while the iron's hot. There are also gonna be months, like the last week of November with Thanksgiving, and basically December is almost a 2.5 week month, if you wanna call it that, in home improvement because of the holidays. Well, I don't wanna go and spend so much money in December that then our cost of marketing's through the roof, because I'm fighting that uphill battle. Like, December's a month where we're gonna go to bat with all of our tried and true sources, but if we have an end of the year sales goal, I've failed as a marketing person if I'm trying to step on the gas in December to hit that sales goal. I almost look at the year as that it's an 11-month year. We need to sell, in December, we need to continue to sell and continue to run appointments. But when it comes to the month of December, I always look at it as like, hey, this is something where hopefully this is adding on top of what we've already done through the year. And then we get through New Year's and then everything ramps right back up. I also try to give our sales reps as well as our call center agents and marketing team a heads up because of the way that they're bonused and getting their commissions. So I was down in Dallas yesterday and we had our Inside Sales Center meeting, and I reminded them, look, October is typically a peak month. There are 27 selling days. It's the most amount of selling days out of any month in the year. There are no holidays in October. Halloween happens the last day of the month. We don't run 6 o'clock appointments on Halloween so that our sales reps can be out with their kids, trick-or-treating. This is a peak month. We're gonna go after it, we're gonna hammer it, the leads are gonna be there, you need to do your job converting those. When you hit your demo goal and you get bonused off of this, I also wanna give you a heads up that November is going to be a little slower. December is then going to be even slower than that. So if you're a sales rep and you're on 100% commission, or you're in our call center and you're getting paid bonuses on demos, do what you can to save a little bit of that money, because the season is, or the year is very seasonal. But we're gonna step on the gas when we need to. That's the time to make bank. And then there's gonna be months where I have to step on the brake a little bit and hold it back to try to make sure that our cost of marketing is in line in those months. And then we get past New Year's and we go right back up. So we're always looking at installed revenue as well. Making sure that our cash flow inside the business is where it needs to be, that's allowing me to continue to spend that money on the front end, on the marketing side. And then obviously the cost of marketing percentage. I talked about the fact that there's a lot of owners out there that wanna be at 10 to 12% cost of marketing, but I think it's a little bit of a pipe dream right now. So, Year to date, I'm at about 18% lead cost, 22.5% fully loaded. So I'd love to be below that, but also we've grown 70% this year. So the trade-off is do you want a lower cost of marketing but less growth? Or do you want more growth but you're willing to sustain a higher cost of marketing? So notice there's one metric up there out of all of them that I did not talk about. And this is the metric. I can't tell you how many times I've spoken with owners to where they're falling in love and getting the lowest cost per lead possible. And I say, you really shouldn't be talking to your marketing people with that mentality.
Yep.
So remember, you can go out there and get a whole bunch of cheap leads, but if they don't turn into set appointments, run appointments, and demos, they're probably not gonna turn into net sales. So you have to be able to allow your marketing team to be able to say, hey, I'm gonna go out there and find some sources, we're gonna test these. And they might cost a little bit more, but when I see them convert, I'm willing to spend that money. When I look at each individual sources, I'm looking at cost of marketing percentage first, net revenue volume second. And I don't wanna say that I don't care what the cost per lead is, but there are some sources where I tell them, I wanna be your top volume in that market compared to your competitors, and you send everything you can, and credit cards on file. And I've got it budgeted. Because the cost of marketing percentage is way more important than the cost per lead. That's one of the ways that you can scale. If you're looking inside your business, at any time that I'm talking to somebody else, it's like, hey, we need more leads, or we're not sure about testing this source, what do you think? I always ask them first, out of all the sources that you have, which are the ones that have the best cost of marketing as well as the net revenue volume? The first question is can you get more leads from those sources? I would much rather try to get more leads from those sources that are tried and true, that have performed, than have to go out and test new sources where you don't know what's coming. You can do the best job in the world of negotiating contracts and agreements and low cost per leads and stuff like that, but if they start coming through and your call center can't generate sets off of them, it's like, man, I wish I would have put that money into a different bucket. There's also the discussion of not having all your eggs in one or two baskets. Because if all of a sudden something dries up over there, now you might be in a really bad position where you don't have other marketing sources that you can just go to and say, hey, just bump your budget. So in a given month, usually, and we're pretty digital heavy, but in a given month, I probably have somewhere between 20 to 25 different sources that I can pull the lever on. The other thing that I try to do is when I set the overall budget, or when we set as a leadership team the overall budget for that month, it is not a set it and forget it model for that month. I'm watching what's going on throughout that month, where usually I'm checking numbers a third of the way through the month on the 10th, halfway through the month on the 15th, and then 2/3 of the way through on the 20th. And I'm like, where are these guys pacing? Are they going to hit the money that I gave them? Where is their cost of marketing at? If they're having a good month and somebody else is having a bad one, I slow that bad one down or shut it off, and I put that money in the one that's having a good month. So you have to be on top of your metrics. You have to be on top of your numbers. You have to be tracking your sources properly. Let's start there. I mean, that is something where if you are not tracking where every lead comes through, it's very difficult to make decisions on bad data. The data's gotta be right, or as close to correct as you possibly can get it. Because that allows me to make the decisions of going, man, this source is killing it. How can I get more leads from them? And if I have to pay more for them, who cares? At the end of the day, if it's turning into net revenue and the cost of marketing is in line, it doesn't bother me at all.
That's right.
So this is an exercise that I try to go through. This is one of the things that's in my Google Sheet, to where I've got the formulas loaded in, but I'm gonna go through this exercise to show you how to back the math out. And sometimes it's something where you have to know your conversion metrics in order to do this, but once you know them and they stay somewhat consistent, or you adjust them over time, It's very, very easy to do. So I'm giving you a heads up that once I put everything up here on the board, it's an opportunity to take a picture and save it and then bring it back to your business. So we're gonna start at the bottom, where when we go through and look at a monthly, whether this is monthly, annually, weekly, it doesn't matter what the time frame is, but let's say it's for the month, and your overall net revenue goal is $1 million. You should know what your average contract size is. In our case, it's $18,000. So I know if I take $1 million and divide it by 18,000, that means that I need to get 56 net sales in order to hit that 1 million. Which means that at a 30% net close rate, so notice this is net, not gross. At a 30% net close rate, that means we need to generate 186 demos in order to generate 56 net sale jobs. We have an 85% demo rate. So meaning every time a rep walks into the house, 85% of the time they are presenting price. So in order to get 186 demos at an 85% demo rate, that means we need to run 218 appointments. In order to run 218, I guess the tabs got a little bit off here, apologies for that. You need to issue, we issue at a 90% rate. So meaning we need to issue, and when I say the difference between run and issue, run is the rep walks into the house. Issue is the regional sales manager the night before issues that appointment to the sales rep. Because just because it gets issued the night before doesn't mean you're not gonna get a phone call or a text message that next morning saying, hey, I need to reschedule my appointment or cancel it. So at a 90% issue rate, that means we need 242 issued appointments. At a 75% confirmation rate, that means we need 322 confirmed appointments. Now we're looking at our set rate. So in order to confirm and have 322 confirmed appointments, we need to be able to set 30%. So I know from my inside sales center team that we need to generate 429 set appointments. If we're at a 30% set rate, that means I need to generate 1,430 leads. If my average cost per lead is 115 bucks, that means I'm spending about $160,000. So that means our cost of marketing is at 16% on 1 million. So you have to go back through and look and see, okay, what are my conversion metrics on the right side? And how can I back this math up to let me know that that's about how many leads I need to generate? You might be asking, okay, what's the deal with the red line and what's the deal with the yellow line? Well, below the red line, that's sales job. They have to be able to convert at those consistent metrics. Above the red line, but below the yellow line, that's the call center's job. And then above the yellow line, that's marketing's job. So when you go through and you're looking at your metrics and you know I would say, a good exercise to do would be to go and run a year-to-date report for this year and at least use, 8 months, 9 months worth of data to be able to show, okay, this is what our set rate is, this is what our confirmation rate is, our issue rate, our demo rate, our net close rate. Because inside, I didn't have enough room, obviously, on one slide to put this, but inside of that 30% net close rate, you might say, well, we have a 45% gross close rate. But gross closes are including finance declines. Gross closes are including any rescissions. So you also have to remember, when you're running the metrics, you gotta make sure that you're not using metrics that you say like, hey, gross close percentage, our sales reps could gross close at 80%. But it really doesn't mean anything. The only thing that it means is, wow, we must have a boatload of finance declines or rescissions if we end up being at a 30% net close. Did anybody did you get a picture of everything that was on there, even though it was obviously not lined up the way that I built it? Switching over from Google to, or PowerPoint to Google. So the next thing, planning and pivoting. Like I mentioned earlier, I do not want to be somebody that all of a sudden I'm caught, like, oh man, I don't know what to do. I'm always trying to think of like, what is the worst thing that could happen and how can I prepare for that? Because it will happen. This year's been a perfect example of that because these are all the different things that we were able to accomplish this year while also growing at 70%. So we changed CRMs. I still have nightmares about all that. We did move our inside sales center into a new facility that's 5 minutes down the road from our corporate office because we needed the extra space. We were continuing to grow, and as we were getting more leads and opening up more markets, we knew we had to be able to hire more callers. It doesn't make sense to have the leads if you don't have the agents to be able to convert, and then if you don't have the sales reps in those markets to be able to sell based on the lead flow that you're getting, that's another problem in itself. We were able to launch a new website, which just went live August 26th. We launched canvassing for bathrooms, and then we also have a partnership with Sam's Club as well as with Costco through a number of our manufacturers. So we had to build teams where I've got basically a non-traditional director of marketing that is overseeing both the canvassing as well as the retail store program, as well as our events and shows that we go to. And then if this all wasn't enough, and I would say this even if Nick was sitting in the room, you know, he wanted to do the extreme ownership course that Jocko and his other Navy SEALs put together with our leadership team. And it's been great, but it's like, dude, we got so much stuff going on. Like, you know, I'm always willing to work on myself as a leader, but you want us to do this once a month and then do all these other workbooks and exercises. Now after going through the year, and we're probably maybe 4 chapters away from completing it, but it's made us a better leader, and I know I'm gonna be able to go back and look at this year to where, like, I don't wanna say nothing will faze me, in, you know, nothing regarding additional growth in coming years, because we've walked through the coals these last 2 years. I mean, we basically added 20 markets in less than 2 years. So it's been challenging, but once you get through all that and you come out the other side and you're having a year where you're gonna pace to do over $100 million, it's very rewarding. You learn a lot of things, you make notes, and then you try not to make the same mistakes again when it comes to, okay, we're gonna launch new markets, we're gonna change something else. But being able to plan ahead for all these things is very important. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm always trying to work 2 to 3 months ahead. So right now, like, I know what I'm gonna be spending approximately in December. I've already got my budget pretty much locked and loaded with a number of these sources based on historical data. This is something that I think will set Zintex apart when it comes to the team members that we have. All of those things that I had on the last slide, we had problems with. It was not easy to change, especially CRM, especially website. But the problems came up. We knew we had a team of people that were gonna be resilient, they were gonna be persistent, and trying to fix those problems so that we can continue operating on a day-to-day basis. That goes back to the culture, and it all starts from the top. It all starts with your leadership team. You know, them being able to set the tone on, look, this is what we're going to do, this is how we're going to do it. We want to be able to get all of your feedback to make sure that we can execute properly, all the way down to the person that just got hired 2 weeks ago. But the leadership and the culture is what's going to drive the organization. And there's times where we make a hire on somebody where we'll allow it to go a certain amount of time to where we then find out, like, this is probably not the person for us. They don't seem to have that kind of drive. They don't seem to have that overcoming objections, overcoming obstacles that are going to get in the way. As we continue to grow, where our goal is to, you know, be an over $200 million bathroom remodeling company, like, we have to have those people that are gonna be a driving force in the business. We gotta pay them well. We gotta provide a great customer, or a great company workplace environment, so that they wanna come to work every day, that they look at it as like it's fun. But you have to have those drivers in the business to be able to hold everybody accountable. And they've gotta be able to lead by example. I'm always looking for problem solvers. I think that's one of the things that I always think that sometimes for people that don't know me, they might think that I'm a glass half empty kind of person. And I think it's because I'm always looking for the problems. When the stuff's going great, I'll celebrate it. Hey, great job, awesome job, keep it rolling, let's go. But usually when I'm looking through a marketing report or I'm looking through some type of data, I'm looking going, oh great, that source is at 11% lead cost, awesome. I'm not spending too much time on that. I'm going, how can I get more leads from it? I'm looking through it going, hey, this is a problem right here. We gotta figure out what we can do. And I think in a lot of cases, we always look internally first. There's too many companies out there that will immediately point the finger at the lead gen partner. And they'll say, hey, your leads aren't good. And in my experience, 25% of the time that's right, but 75% of the time it's something we're doing wrong internally. So we point the finger at ourselves to then look internally at DISPO reports and say, hey, what are we doing wrong on these leads? Then being able to provide the DISPO reports back to our lead gen partners to where we can say, hey, we listened to a bunch of these calls, we looked at all this data, we looked through and to see what can we try to do differently on our end before I send it over to them and say, hey, we gotta get on a call and talk about this because there seems to be some kind of a cadence here or a trend here regarding the types of leads that we're getting. The other cool thing about working at Zintex is all of our VPs as well as all of our directors have started out doing the entry-level job in the department that they oversee. So in my example, when I started with Renewal by Anderson at a small family-owned and operated $2 million a year company in Wisconsin back in 2011, I was the call center. My title was marketing manager, but every appointment that came in got transferred over to me. I was the one that set the appointment, I was the one that called and confirmed the appointment, I was the one that was going out and working events and shows and setting those appointments. The only thing that I have not done in home improvement, because I did do it for about a week as a summer job when I got out of college, was I've never canvassed for home improvement. I did canvassing for about a week where I was selling discount coupons door to door for golf courses in the area, and I realized that that wasn't for me. But our VP of sales, he's been an in-home sales rep. Our VP of operations, he used to be a recruiter. Our VP of installation and production used to be an installer. So when you know and you've done the things that you're asking your team to do, it's much easier to get the buy-in. It's also much easier to be able to help them out. I'm sure we all can think of at least one person right now that either is working for the company that we work for or is somebody that we work with, and you can say, like, I know that that person has no idea what they're talking about, yet they're in some type of a VP, director, manager role. It's like, oh, that's just some corporate gig where they got the job because they're their cousin's friend. And they start talking and it's like, man, you really don't know what you're talking about. We like being able to promote from within and give people that started out as entry-level positions in our organization and give them the ability to become a manager or a director or a VP at some point. So this is a little exercise, and this is, I had to do this because of knowing home improvement, but I'm sure there's gonna be some examples for your businesses where you can look at it and say, okay, for this particular example, there are opportunities for you to go back into your business and say, well, what's the next position that we want to hire? But at the end of the day, I figured these are the questions that I'm going to get. Okay, how do I get to the next level of my business? What particular positions do I need to hire? How do I make smart investments? How do you grow while also maintaining? We don't want to be taking 3 steps back to only take 1 step forward. We want to be able to only take 2 or 1 steps back to take 2 steps forward. And then probably more importantly, what order do we do what in? So I put this together and I'm going to run through it within the next basically 5 minutes so that there's time for any questions. But these are the silos: marketing, inside sales center, sales, production, installation. So on the left-hand side, I've got less than a $1 million a year business in home improvement. In a lot of cases, the owner is both doing the marketing and doing the selling. Hopefully they have a CRM. Hopefully. The days of doing it on paper are long gone. And most of the time, these are the sources that they're using. They go to events and shows, they've got a website, they do social media. They try to generate as many repeats and referrals as they possibly can. In the inside sales center, it might be somebody such as an office manager that is the one that is answering the phones and setting the appointments. The office manager also might be responsible for the production side of it when it comes to calling and scheduling the installations. You've got a receptionist, maybe. Somebody that's working inside the office, or maybe you have a showroom in there that they're there. You might have 1 to 2 sales reps on top of the owner being able to go out and sell. Hopefully you have a selling system. And then you've got an install manager. Usually you'll have 1 to 2 installers, because usually the number of installers would typically match the number of sales reps that you have. Now we're moving over to a $1 to $5 million business. So in a $1 to $5 million business, hopefully the owner is moved out of the silos. They shouldn't be doing marketing or sales or production. They should be working on the business, not working in the business. You've now hired a marketing manager to replace the owner when it comes to looking for more lead sources. What other kind of events and shows can we go to? You've got an events and shows manager. They're responsible for everything, booking all the events, making sure that we're able to do setup, tear down, running the events, generating the appointments. At this time, it would always be a good idea to hire a CRM manager. Unfortunately, when I came to Zintex in 2021, they already had a CRM manager in place. But if you have a CRM and you don't have somebody that's watching it, that's helping you integrate, that's helping you onboard more lead generation sources and fix problems, that's more detrimental to the business than anything else. Is if you're using your CRM the way you should be using it, and then you don't have somebody that's managing it. At this point, as a $1 to $5 million business, you might be hiring a website management company instead of trying to do your own website, trying to get as many digital leads as you possibly can, working with certain manufacturers and their lead gen programs, and then potentially getting into TV and radio. On the inside sales center side, now you're up to 1 to 3 agents, but you should hire an inside sales manager or promote one of your agents up to, hey, you're responsible for this department and making sure that we're calling as much as we possibly can, that we're handling all the inbound calls that we're going to be getting, that marketing's driving. If you're buying a lot of digital leads, I can't stress this enough, we started working with Active Prospect back in 2022. We would not be able to buy the amount of digital leads that we generate if we did not have Active Prospect. Sometimes people will tell me, they'll look at the cost of it, they go, oh my gosh, I just can't believe I'm gonna spend this much for it. I'm not gonna take the time today to talk about all the benefits of Active Prospect, but it has certainly been something that both on a protection side for trusted form, on a rejecting duplicate leads that we get from various digital sources, it has pretty much paid for itself. Hopefully at this point you have a telephony system to where you're not having people that are actually like manually dialing the phone numbers on a phone. You can do a click to dial system, or in a lot of cases, a number of companies have auto dialers. You just gotta be a little bit careful with the TCPA. I'm not the person to answer those questions, please talk to your attorney. Making sure that you have some type of a tech stack system that is going to be able to text and email customers versus getting a hold of them on the phone all the time. On the sales side, now you've got a sales manager in place of the owner. You've got 2 to 4 sales reps. We use iPad technology when it comes to our sales presentation. There are no more flip books. There's no more PowerPoint presentations. It looks as professional as it possibly can. And at the size that we are, we have one person that used to be a sales rep that is actually in charge of building out the entire pricing structure and 10-step selling system. And they update it all the time. You still got your office manager working in production. Now you've hired 1 to 2 customer care reps. So these reps are basically taking the customer from the time of the sale all the way through and updating them until post-installation. They're basically who the customer is going to be reaching out to, or they're going to be reaching out to the customer to let them know your materials have been ordered. We've got the materials in-house. We are now ready to schedule your installation for this day. They're keeping in contact with those customers constantly to provide a great experience. You've got your installation manager, now you're up to 2 to 4 installers. Sales and installation are the two departments where you can generate the most amount of reviews. So having some type of a comp plan or having some type of bonus structure to where both your sales reps, even if they don't sell it in the house, they are asking for a review. We want to get as many Google reviews as we possibly can. This has been the way that we've been able to do it. On the installation side as well as the sales side, we do use company cam where we take pictures of everything as well as video. So that way a customer can't come back and say, hey, there were supposed to be 2 grab bars on this order. On my install, they didn't get installed. How come I don't see those? And we'll pull the tape. It's just like the eye in the sky at the casino. If I'm $10 million a year, now up here in the left-hand corner, I could, whether it's new markets, whether you've partnered up with a manufacturer and they're able to provide you leads, or whether you add a new product line. This is what'll take your business to that next level. Now we've got the owner over there working on the business, but they've hired a recruiter because we need to recruit and hire so many more people. So you still got your marketing manager. Now you're up to 2 events and shows managers because you have 2 markets that you need to cover. You still got your CRM manager. Now you've got a non-traditional manager. They're the ones that are doing retail. They're the ones that are doing canvassing, as well as helping out with events and shows. At this point, you might be able to do some print, but then we're going heavy with non-traditional. We are going out and making leads, not taking leads. There's a big difference between making and taking. You have to be able to balance that out inside of your business, because at some point, you will hit a peak of the taking leads part. And you have to be able to continue to drive leads that you're going out and generating that lead. You're now up to 4 to 8 agents. You've still got your inside sales center manager, but now you've got a team lead that is responsible for another shift. You've got confirmers. So separate confirmers that are basically doing nothing all day but confirming appointments. And they might be overflowing. You got your sales manager, you're up to 7 to 10 sales reps at this point. But because you're in a new market, now you need a regional manager to be doing ride-alongs, to be coaching those sales reps that are in that other market. Production's pretty much the same, except you're up to 2 to 4 customer care reps. On the installation side, now you're up to 7 to 10 installers, but you've now hired a field manager. They're the ones that are going out and visiting every customer's job site to make sure that that installation was done properly. And now because you have another warehouse in another market, you have to have a warehouse manager. At 10 to 25 million, now you've got recruiters instead of just one recruiter. You still have your marketing manager. You've opened up another market or 2. You need another events and shows manager. Still got your CRM manager, but you might look at hiring an assistant for them because the workload now on the CRM manager is a lot higher. You're going heavy on the non-traditional marketing manager side, and now you've hired an agency to handle a lot of your media buying. You're doing a lot of internal lead gen production as well, where you've got your own team inside your business. You're not relying on hiring somebody that's attending Leadscon to generate leads. You are now hiring somebody that's going to be doing a lot of lead generation both through your own website or social media. This is basically scalable here in the inside sales center. As far as how many agents, if you're adding more agents, you always need more leadership and more managers. Now you're up to 15 to 20 reps. You need multiple regional managers because you're covering multiple markets. On the production side, all you're doing is adding more customer care reps. And on the install side, all you're doing is adding more installers and more field managers. It's also a great idea to have a review, referral, and repeat generation platform at this time, where you have that many sales reps, you have that many installers, and you're comping them on any referral or repeat customer that they are generating based on additional commission. When you get to the point where you're at 25 to 50 million, you've now hired a CFO to make sure that everything financially in the business is going really well, and you've promoted your marketing person to VP of marketing, so they're overseeing everything within the marketing department. You still have your marketing manager, but now all you're doing is just adding more. It's like, okay, we need more events and shows managers. We need more non-traditional marketing managers. This is how we've gotten to the point of covering 32 different markets. In some cases, there are marketing managers that can cover multiple markets. They have the responsibility of generating the leads in those particular markets. Then you might be able to do some branding. When I say branding, I'm looking at it like there's a difference between call to action marketing, where you're getting a lead, a phone number, you're getting information to be able to call and contact and work that lead. And then branding, I look at sources where it's like 100% branding, such as you got radio. I don't do any billboards, but billboards would be a perfect example of 100% branding. You could put whatever easy to remember phone number up on the billboard. Doesn't mean you're gonna get phone calls, but it's branding. Somebody is recognizing your business and what you do as they're driving by. When you're scaling the rest of it, you're looking at, okay, we need more agents in the call center, I need more assistant managers, I need more confirmers, I need more team leads. We're promoting up the chain as we continue to grow inside the sales center. The VP of sales is now somebody that's been promoted from your sales manager. You now have 40 to 50 sales reps that are out in the field running appointments. You've got your regional sales managers that are covering multiple markets at this time. And then you've got your VP of production that you've promoted now. So where they're responsible for everything that goes on inside the production and installation silos. You've still got your office manager, or now you have office managers because you have 10 to 15 customer care center reps that you have to make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to. You've promoted on the installation side up to the VP of install. You now have 40 to 50 installers, multiple field managers, multiple warehouse managers. So we're getting to the point now at 100 million this year, and the goal is to get up to $200 million, and I don't know if that's attainable next year or if it's the year after. But this is basically the model that we've used to try to make sure that we have the right people in place to be able to execute based on all of the 9 different P's that we are focusing on to be able to continue growing Zintex Remodeling Group. And with that, I'll take any questions.
I have one.
Yeah.
You talked a little bit about not putting up roadblocks. So how do you manage that step in the funnel between set appointment and issue? Is there a way to avoid losing appointments there?
Well, it's a great question. There is a trade-off. And what you have to look at, and it's almost something where you have to try doing this, is first step that we're actually gonna do, it's probably gonna be something that we're testing out in November and December, but you have to have every call center recording is listened to by somebody. If the call center reps know that every call that they have or every discussion that they have with the customer for a set appointment is being listened to, they're gonna stay on script. Knowing then that we now have the ability to schedule the appointments up to a point where we might set appointments out to 7 days. We don't do it on purpose, but we can schedule an appointment out 7 days, and we are not gonna be requiring a confirmation call. And that is the chance that you have to take. So even though we're trying to schedule same days and next days to get our rep in the house, it's basically taking that model, and instead of at the end of the call saying, we're going to call you to confirm your appointment the day prior. Well, I can't tell you how many unconfirmed appointments we have to where we called the customer 7 times, sent out text messages, sent out an email, and they, unfortunately, or I would call it kind of rudely, never responded to us. So we're looking at going to that model to where it's like, we are telling the customer when we set the appointment, let's say we're setting it 3 days out, we're telling them, we will have a design consultant at your door this upcoming Friday at 2 p.m. and the rep gets sent.
No confirmation?
No confirmation.
Wow.
When you think about the way that customers are behaving, they don't want to talk on the phones anymore. You run the risk when you send text message of it all of a sudden being a one leg or being a no demo or being a not home. But we have to look at trusting our agents that are setting the appointment to where they're not just throwing junk against the wall and hoping the confirmation catches it. They have to be, all their calls have to be listened to where they know, hey, you're responsible for your own demo ring. You are setting and confirming the appointment basically at that time, regardless of how far the appointment's set out. And if we hear you on the call recording that you did not do that properly, then we will call that customer. So we're still having a confirmation department. It's something I think we have to test out where we use our highest NSLI performing leads or our branded leads. And we test that out first. But I think that's where it's going. And the hope is we are gonna run more appointments over the long haul where the rep is going to be able to get into the house. And unfortunately, the sales reps are gonna have to deal with not homes, but at the end of the year, when they look at what they sold and they look at their commission dollars, they're like, hey, I was able to run more appointments and get in the house. A good question.
Thank you, Eric. We're running a little short on time, so
Yep.
maybe you could stick around a little bit
Sure.
afterwards, but
Happy